Hello and welcome to episode 10 of My Media Museum's 45 RPM vinyl records mixed box number 11. And we left off with the Carpenters. We've only just begun at the end of the last episode. And we have another Carpenters here to pick us up for the start of this one. And there's a kind of hush all over the world tonight. And the B-side is I'm caught between goodbye and I love you. Goodbye, I love you, won't you tell me your name? The Carpenters. And this was really interesting because right next to it in the stack was this one, which is the Spinners doing a cover of a Carpenters song that they blended into a medley. So there's Yesterday Once More and Nothing Remains the Same, which I'm not sure who originally did that or if that was also a Carpenters song. It's not giving songwriting credits to Richard Carpenter, so quite possibly not. But I don't know if I've ever heard this medley from the Spinners, 1981. The B-side of it is a song called Be My Love. And there again, it is quite entirely possible that Be My Love is the A-side and that medley with the Carpenters remake there would make more sense as a B-side. But I'm not sure. The notes that came with it, Yesterday Once More. So that's why I was thinking that it was quite possibly the A-side, because the guy that bought it to add to his collection had noted it as being bought for that purpose, for that song. Now this one's a little interesting. I'll take a minute to show you the sleeve. Not sure if I've seen this sleeve before, but it's not a common one. It's not one that we've seen a million times. And it's interesting because it's on a for demonstration use only, not for sale. But there again, you'll notice that that is stamped on there, not printed on as part of the label. They took a stamp and just stamped it. So Ein Thomas, I am not familiar with. I do not know that individual. Name rings no bells for me. Neither does the song Painted Ladies, but it hit number 34 in December of 73. So this is another one of those that quite possibly, if we gave it a spin, might ring some bells. But it's interesting that this is a promo copy that was probably given to a DJ, but that's not for sure either. It might have been given out at some kind of an event. But anyways, the B-side is a song called Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow? And that's probably not that song. That's the tune that comes to my head when you see that. And that's the thing about song titles. You know, they can't copyright a song title. If somebody wanted to, they could write a song and call it Stairway to Heaven and put it out. And there wouldn't be any legal issues as long as the song was completely different from Stairway to Heaven. And this is the case here. Will You Still Love Me is a title I recognize as a popular song of someone else. But since it has Ein Thomas as the songwriting credits there, I'm sure it's a completely different song. But yeah, that's a interesting disc to have, and not a distributor that I've seen a lot of material from. This next one up is interesting as well. I've got a few interesting ones here to look at in this stack. James Taylor doing Shower the People. And it says it's an edited version of the song off of the In the Pocket album from 1976. And promotion, not for resale, right there across the top. And you'll notice the stereo version. Well, we did recently have one of these to show, but we're going to discuss it once again just a little bit. We've got the mono version of the exact same edited version, same runtime of the same song, Shower the People, being on the B-side here. And that mono version would have been for AM stations, whilst the stereo version would have been used on FM. And that's very common. Now, something I haven't mentioned in this recent batch of filming is the fact that these mono versions are not always just fold downs from the stereo versions. A lot of people just totally disregard the mono versions of songs. The Beatles catalog is a good example as well, but a lot of mono versions, especially in cases like this, are specially mixed for that version to be played on the AM radio stations. It could have different guitar parts, could have different audios. It could just be a completely different mix. Now, a lot of them were fold downs. Yes, they took the stereo, ran both channels into one, made a mono version. But I know Hendrix, Jimi Hendrix in particular, he put a lot of time and effort into specially mixing those mono versions for those AM radio stations. And those little single speaker, radios that were so commonplace in the day. So don't just rule these mono versions out. If you've got some 45s and you've got some mono versions, give them a listen. Give them a chance. Some of them sound considerably different. And in a few rare cases, they're completely different recordings. So don't just rule the mono versions out. They do sometimes sound different. Now, we looked at this one in a recent one. This was one where we did talk a little bit about the mono and the stereo versions. It was right at the end of an episode, if not the last one, the one before it. The reason why I'm showing you this again is because I had two Dan Fogelbergs back to back here in the stack, and I didn't get to the second one because we ran out of time in that episode. So here's the other Dan Fogelberg that I had there. This one clearly says it's from his greatest hits, Make Love Stay. I don't know if that was a new song on the greatest hits or if it was just a song from the greatest hits and they put out the 45 to promote the greatest hits album. But they're saying it hit number 29 in March of 83. So that might be one of those cases where an artist puts out a greatest hits album and they've got a new song on there and they put that song out, and Make Love Stay could very well have been a new track on the greatest hits album. I'm not a huge Dan Fogelberg fan, so I don't know the history. I'm speculating here, completely speculating, and I apologize for that. But that did take place a number of times where they'll put one or two new songs on a greatest hits to entice you even more to buy that greatest hits. So the B-side to that one was Hearts and Crafts. And they're not telling you where that one's from, so very suspicious. Like I said, I wouldn't be least bit surprised if that Make Love Stay was a new song on the Greatest Hits album, and that 45 was put out to promote it. So, next up, we've got, again, a reissue. It's a spun gold from Asylum Records, and Joni Mitchell, Help Me, I Think I'm Falling in Love with You. Okay, I did a horrible job of singing that, but it should have been enough for you to recognize it if you didn't recognize it from the title. Hit number 7 in April of 74, and it's a well-known song. It's interesting here, you'll notice the label is smeared. So there's a production problem. That's not label damage. That ink was smeared when that sucker was made, pretty sure. From looking at it, you'll see it's nice and clear on this side, no problem. It's just really smeared. It is a little dirty too, but the B-side here, again, is another one of her hits, hit number 22 in August of 74. So Free Man in Paris. Now that's not one I recognize by the title. I don't know that song right out. But I do know Help Me, I Think I'm Falling, even if I can't sing it acceptably well. Next one here, this is just an odd title. It's a spun gold as well, and it says it hit number 25 in December of 72, but You Turn Me On, I'm a Radio. That's an odd title. I know Joni Mitchell was rather popular with the hippie crowd and folk music and all this. Having written the song Woodstock that Crosby, Stills and Nash turned into a huge hit and all, but I'm not tremendously familiar with her material. She wasn't one of my favorite artists, and it's marked as an A-side, but I think that's an interesting title. You Turn Me On, I'm a Radio. That's kind of cool. B-side, being a song called Raised on Robbery. Being a spun gold, you'd think that would have been a hit too, but we've got no notations, so maybe it was originally put out as a single and just simply didn't chart, and for whatever reasons they threw it on here as a B-side. But these spun golds quite often have hits on both sides. Next up, we've got a very late career Roy Orbison, In Dreams. And 1989, we've even got the old barcode there showing it as a later period 45. Not sure what album that came from. I liked Roy Orbison. I definitely appreciated him as being part of the Traveling Wilburys. But he wasn't one that, other than the song Pretty Woman, I think there was another one or two that he did in his early career that I would have known him for. In Dreams is one I also do recognize. I remember that being a pretty good hit at the time. The B-side of that being California Blue. So, just kind of cool. Virgin Records, 1989. We're getting close to the end of the lifespan there, because if you've been watching the channel, again, that's some information I keep throwing out time and time again. But the 1991 was when the distributors quit giving credits back to the stores for unsellable copies of 45, so they just quit buying them, and that was the death knell for 45 RPMs. Here we've got a Hall of Fame of Big Brother and the Holding Company, which you might recognize as being Janis Joplin's. She originally started out with Big Brother and the Holding Company, and Piece of My Heart was a huge hit for them off of that Cheap Thrills album. Hit number 12 in September of '68, it's saying here, but I know the song well, and I'm quite familiar with it. And it's interesting that they actually put a Janis Joplin song on the B-side. Cosmic Blues from her Blues Again Mama. I got Dream Old Cosmic Blues Again Mama. All right. But yeah, we've got Big Brother and the Holding Company on one side and Janis Joplin credited flat out on the other side. I'm assuming the B side. So, we got one more quick one here we'll squeeze in, and this is Looking Glass. You might know from Brandy, You're a Fine Girl, What a Good Wife You Would Be. Well, here's Jimmy Loves Mary Ann, which was another one of their hits, hit number 33. Not nearly as well known as Brandy. The B-side being a song called Woolly Eyes. But Looking Glass, I always associate them with Brandy, You're a Fine Girl. And that was long before Guardians of the Galaxy used it. So, hope you enjoyed that. Hope you had a great time. Hope to see you again for part 11.